Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. For a person like me, it's absolutely fascinating to see what a network can achieve. I have been working in the early 90s for UNEP, and today I'm leading 2 European business associations and 1 global one on foil and flexible packaging in the packaging world. And when I was in the first meetings at FAO with Robert and Bernd from Messe Düsseldorf and Robert from FAO in a workshop, what we could do together, I was never ever dreaming to have the opportunity to speak in front of such an audience today. And I was never ever dreaming that we already can present first business models, like the Mango one, where we have really built up the case that working together with public and private partnership is working if you build up the network and if you help to facilitate the right people to meet. And that's the role I see EAFA and FPE has. We are a facilitator. We are glad that our member WIPF joined the Mango project. And of course, we have to explain the role packaging can play in the food waste issue. And we believe that the packaging role will even become more important. It has been mentioned the population growth, which we have to feed, but we have not mentioned where these people will live, and they will live in big cities. And if you see that in 2050, 7 out of 10 people will be living in big cities, the distribution and the challenge to bring food to them needs logistics, needs packaging. You will never feed them from the garden on the roof of a big hotel. It will not work. You know all these pictures, yeah? What do you need? Where do they get the things from? This is the logistics today. Where do they do their shopping? This is where they do the shopping today. No cooling chain, maybe. Portioning is a key issue. All that, regardless how good and efficient the production of the food is, will not work with appropriate packaging. Just to give you an example of knowledge transfer, which I think is key. Here is one of the examples where you have an example for long shelf life. Nutrition has been mentioned, how important it is to preserve the nutrition. Nutrition preservation is 100% guaranteed, and you can also do it for portioning. It's nothing innovative, but it's something which you can use in different parts of the world in an appropriate way. I think what we have not so much focused on is how much we in developed countries are wasting food, and we do as well. And here, portioning plays a big role. And it will only work if we can convince consumers or explain to consumers the role packaging can play in helping to extend shelf life and to reduce the food waste. If you buy 2 cucumbers on a Saturday market, you eat one on the weekend, the second one next weekend you will throw away and buy a new one because it didn't look like good anymore. If you pack it, you may use it in the second weekend as well. Or you see the picture from the bananas. I think, and it was mentioned, these are no Ferraris, so the attitude of the consumer is not like throwing a Ferrari away. So I think portioning, extending shelf life through packaging can play a key role to reduce food waste in developed countries if, and this is very important, if we manage to get the acceptance from the consumer about the role packaging can play. We are building up a master file with a lot of examples how you can reduce food waste. And this was published about 2-3 weeks ago from Denkstadt. And it's a study made in the shops of an Australian retailer comparing the food waste they had before by selling cheese unpacked over the counter. And they had about 5% food waste. After they sliced it and packed it, they reduced, over a period where they measured it, they reduced the food waste coming out from the cheese counter down to 0.4%. This is an absolute reduction of 40 grams CO2 per portion. For one portion, it sounds not much, but if you think how much portions are sold, I think this can be a huge impact. In this study, for example, another member of ours, Südpack, was involved. And I know that the Swiss people here are already very advanced in saving food with regard to wine, because you have a lot of the wine already closed with aluminum closures, which guarantees 100% perception of the wine quality. And if you have other closures, for example, you have a loss rate from 3 to 5% according to the different sources of corked wine you throw away. And you don't throw away your glass of wine. If you ever do it, think about the resource rucksack behind this glass of wine. Fertilizer, water, distribution, and so on. Yes, you have to invest a little bit more in packaging, but the overall resource balance is positive. And there are much more examples out. I just learned yesterday that a company of ours in UK, I2R, developed a new pack which can directly go in the oven with a, I think it's a turkey or whatever. But when you take it out, you get advice, if you don't eat the whole turkey, how you can use that packaging for how long to store the leftover. And so it is directed to the consumer to change behavior, and it's advising how he can do it. And what we should be aware, and I think this is more or less a general rule, yeah, over 30% of fresh food becomes waste, while only 10% of packed food ends up as waste. So that is the dimension we are talking. But the problem we have, I mean, I'm also a private person. If I'm on a party and have to say that I'm working for the packaging industry, the evening is gone. Yeah? And this is the perception which is hindering us to get these solutions through. I quote Sealed Air research done in US, so it's representative for US, but I don't think it would be much different in our country, in our continent. 89% of shoppers think packaging waste is more harmful to the environment than food waste. And as long as we don't change that one, we won't get the acceptance to solve the problem of food waste with better packaging. So I see a pressing need to communicate to consumers the role of packaging, for all my friends from the other packaging materials in the room, of course for us, for foil and flexible packaging, in reducing food waste. And as I think Pascale mentioned this morning, the risk of underpackaging is more dangerous than the risk of overpackaging. This is a UNEP CETAC qualified life cycle analysis, and the red part of the bars is the CO2 footprint for a portion of butter or whatever it is, which is related to the packaging, and all the other is related to the production of the food, the distribution, and whatever. So if you do not invest much enough in the red bar, you risk to lose the 80 or 90% of all the other resources which are related there. To do it in an efficient way, there are ways out to do that. We had just looked into the prevention potential if you go for most resource-efficient solutions which allow to fulfill the quality and the standard you need by using as less material and as less appropriate material as possible. Summing up, the key message is, and that's where we are also looking for help from, I think, the fillers and the retailers, we have to change the consumer perception. The consumer perception is we do not want more packaging or packaging at all. We need to reduce climate change. They all will sign that. They all will sign that wasting food is bad. And they will tell you, I don't waste that much. Below, you see, according to EU, 30% of each of us in this room, on average, of our footprint goes back to food and the whole food supply chain. If we manage to get rid of the 30% food losses, it's up in the hand of the consumer by changing the behavior. The 10% in the pink field, that is what he could himself influence if he would recognize that food waste is on a higher importance than, for example, packaging waste. So we need to reduce our messaging. If I go out, I say, yes, I accept we have to reduce climate change impacts. Consumer wasted food has a significant environmental impact, and if you want to change climate change, you can help, because you can influence up to 10% of your own, by your own behavior, and part of that one must be that you have to understand the role of packaging to reduce the overall food waste issue. The commitment of our organization is we are a Safe Food member from the very beginning. We are an active communicator on food waste reduction globally. And yeah, we are proud to say that we are the only association supporting the Safe Food Mango project. And we are very glad that in the first meeting we had 4 or 5 companies from our members on the brainstorming on the mango. And when it was decided to go for the dried food, okay, one company was left because they are the specialized in that one, and they are not so specialized in producing juice. What I want to say is the role we see is bring also this kind of thinking into the industry, open up and look for new solutions. Thank you very much.